Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's your mediocre host, Average Outdoor Joe. If you've watched any of my videos on Two Top, you're going to start recognizing this hill. I've been coming here for a year and it's one of my favorites. The first time I dropped down this hill was on my 2016 bright green limited 162 M800 Arctic Cat. That thing was sweet. That was the day my brother Wayne totaled his free Skidoo that he won through Snow West magazine. That was a sad day. He hit a big tree, it was destroyed. Not sure if you guys noticed, but there was some pretty cool tracks on the way going up there from an animal. So this is my dad. He just turned 64 this weekend. Happy birthday to him. He is the reason our family's snowmobiles. Like honestly, I've been riding even before I could walk. I had my own snowmobile since I was 3 years old. Little kitty cat, and I ripped around all the fields in Mack, Idaho. But he still gets around pretty dang good for being 64 years old. So this mountainside is a good mix of open areas, good tree riding. There isn't a bunch of new growth, so the trees are all pretty evenly spaced, which is nice. But it's one of the favorite areas that we go. So my siblings and I bought our parents a weekend stay at Mack's new hotel, the Spring Hill Suites, for Christmas. Since my parents were already up here, I brought my family up for the day, and earlier we went to Big Springs. We fed the fish. They're getting huge, so if you haven't been, it would definitely be a good year to go. And then we went and ate lunch at Meadow Creek Lodge. If you ride the Island Park area and haven't been there for lunch, you're missing out. It's snowmobile access only, cash only, which is important. And the food's pretty good. It's a fun experience in the winter because you get a snowmobile in there. So after lunch we dropped the girls off at the hotel, they went and swam, and my dad and I headed back up to Two Top. So we've been getting blessed with good snow, as you can tell. Haven't had a snowstorm for a couple days before we were riding here, but the cold weather's keeping the snow really good. So a few years back I was invited to test all the new snowmobiles with Snow West magazine. That was the first time I rode the factory Skidoo Turbo, and Ryan took us to one of his test spots. I thought it was going to be some secret place that I'd never been. It actually ended up being right here in this exact spot. One of my favorite spots to ride. I've been coming here for years, and he took me right back to my own playground, which is pretty cool. That was the first time I rode a two-stroke Yamaha. It was a 154, completely stock, so it was nothing like this one, but pretty good memories made right here. So I've had the Mountain Max now for a few weeks. I've put just over 300 miles on it, already doubled what the previous owner had put on it, and I'm definitely getting more comfortable on the sled compared to the first ride at Togety. That was a little sketchy for me. The power has become manageable, and I love how light it is on the skis. One of my biggest gripes with the Chaos in the 165-inch track is just how planted it was. Heavy skis, couldn't flip it around, nothing like the 155 Chaos. And as you can see, the 165 Turbo has no issue being rowdy. That being said, I noticed immediately the back end washout on the Alpha after riding a Matrix for almost 1,000 miles. While side-hilling steep slopes, I feel the back end want to dip and the skis start to point uphill instead of holding its line. I've rode 2,000 plus miles on an Alpha, and I've tried all the different foot positions on the running boards, and nothing has helped hold a line like a Polaris chassis. That's why I just installed the 4-wheel kit from Performance Northwest. Essentially it's a wider rear axle and 2 added spacers that adds a wheel about 3 inches outside of the existing wheel on each side of the track. I've done 2 rides on it so far, and the kit, it drastically improved the handling in the technical terrain. The Alpha still has that amazing grip of the 3-inch track. It holds the angle of the slope, but the back end doesn't have the same flex by the axle, allowing it to flex on that edge, so it actually holds a line a lot straighter. I haven't felt any negative effects of the kit, just more predictability, which is honestly what I was looking for. On this ride, I had it ordered. It wasn't installed yet, but I can ride most of what I want to without it. It just adds a little bit more confidence and predictability, which is well worth it for how cheap the kit was. I'm not affiliated with Performance Northwest. so no need to say things that I don't truly believe, but I'll drop a link in the description of the kit if you're curious about it and want to buy one. So this Mountain Max is the first turbo sled I've ever owned. I have had a few modded sleds, but mostly just bolt-on parts. My Chaos just had clutching in a can from Starting Link Products in Idaho Falls, but my 2020 Alpha had the Speedworks Stage 2 Exterminator kit with a TKI belt drive, and that thing ripped. Honestly, I should have never sold that sled. When the Matrix chassis came out, my wife conned me into selling the Alpha, snow checking the Chaos, but looking back, I think I would have had more fun just keeping the Alpha and throwing a new clutch on it so it wouldn't explode and take out the entire motor. That being said, I was pretty skeptical to buy a sled with an aftermarket turbo. I've had friends that have had multiple turbos, and they always complain about the lag, the tuning issues, having to run mixed fuel in them, and one day they run good, other days they run bad. So I just wanted a turnkey turbo that would run the same every day, but I didn't want to pay $22,000 for a boosted Chaos. But after 300 miles on the Boondocker Agility, only issues I've had was a set of fouled plugs, and I've had the power valve or exhaust valve cables pop out of the servo motor a couple times. I have fixed that. It's a pretty common issue for the 2020 and beyond Arctic Cat Alphas and Yamahas, since they're essentially the same. I do miss the bottom end of my naturally aspirated sleds, but the power of the turbo in every other situation just outweighs it by so much that you get over a little bit of bottom end lacking. So right here's a perfect example of why I love Two Top. These trees are mostly older growth, making them more spaced out and easier and predictable to ride, but every corner you have to kind of make sure that you take it easy, make sure you can find your line to the top. Makes it challenging, but it's not like impossible riding. And the trees here covered in snow are just awesome. So right here, you'll see I do a re-entry, the back end slides out. That's that washout that I've been talking about. Instead of planting and getting the sled to rotate up and over, it slides its back end out. And that's where the four-wheel kit has really changed the handling. The rock's right in front of me. I'm watching this right now. I have no idea why I didn't go and jump off those. I'll have to come back and hit those, but didn't take advantage of those. The only downside I'm finding from this turbo so far is just how loud it is while riding the snowmobile. It's made it to where it's hard to hear my radio. It's not that loud of an exhaust, so if somebody else is riding the snowmobile and they go past you, it doesn't blow your ears out. But the turbo is just so loud in your face that I ended up putting a headset inside my helmet with a Bluetooth radio from Oxbow Radio, trying to be able to hear my riding buddies and what's going on, but that's probably the biggest downside. But the power is amazing, so I get over that pretty easy. Up until this turbo kit went on sale like a week ago from Boondocker, it was almost $6,000. And I was pretty skeptical to buy this sled because when I looked on social media, YouTube, the internet, everywhere, I couldn't find a single Alpha with the Boondocker Agility, so there's like no reviews or anything. But I mean, the curiosity of just having this turbo and only having 180 miles, it got the best of me and I ended up buying it, and I'm so glad I did. On another note, I know going downhill through the trees takes way less talent than going up, but I almost enjoy the feeling of descending down an untouched, fresh powder mountain more than picking my way up to the top. Could have stayed and played on this hillside for hours, but my dad was up top, so I figured I'd better go see what he's up to. So I went and found him, traded him sleds. He installed the four-wheel kit that I ordered at the start of the season, so I wanted to jump on his sled and kind of see if I could feel any handling difference. Now we both have 165 Alphas. His is stock with a belt drive and a can. Mine's got a turbo on it, so not really comparing apples to apples. But I would say, you know, even in these pow turns or holding a side hill, it did seem to be more predictable, which gave me some good optimism for the four-wheel kit that I had coming. But now that I've put a couple hundred miles on it, I can say it was well worth $300 for the kit. And the best part about the kit is an idiot like me could install it in like 15 minutes. The hardest part was just getting the track out of the way so you could get the wheels to fit inside the axle, but it was super easy. Anyways, it was getting late, sun started to go down, and we still had to get clear back to Mack's Inn. So we started to head down the mountain with a pretty amazing view of the sunset. You've got Henry's Lake on the right, Sawtell Mountain straight in front of you, and kind of the flats of Island Park to the left. It was pretty amazing, like seeing the cloud coverage and then just dipping down underneath and having that beautiful sunset. I had my dad ride the turbo for a while because I wanted to hear what he would say afterwards. It took him a minute to find a spot where he'd hold it wide open for a second, but when he came back I could tell he was grinning underneath his helmet. So remember those animal tracks I was talking about earlier? Well, we're about to find out who made them. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw something move and it caught my attention. I've found coyotes, foxes in the mountains, all sorts of different animals, but I've never found an elk at 8,000 feet, all by itself. In January with feet of snow, I couldn't believe it. It's kind of sad. It's probably going to die from the cold or starvation, or become a dinner for a wolf or two, since they're kind of everywhere.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Looking at you saying, can I have something to eat?
I saw a whole bunch of tracks in that one spot we dropped down. Give it the beans. Dad's trying out the turbo.
You know, it's a good area if you're willing to ride these crappy, bumpy trails into it. Most of the trails in Island Park are very well maintained. This isn't one that ever gets groomed. But again, for the riding area that it is and how close it is to where we live, it's such a fun place to go. And we go multiple times a year, so that's one of my favorite spots to ride.
I'm gonna put some real gloves on. That was a fun, quick ride.
It was a nice suck.
You what?
Oh, there was a nice suck.
Yeah. You did fine. You never got stuck that I saw.
But I'll tell you what, the second that sun disappears to where I can't see the terrain, I turn into this. I don't know what, but I sure like being able to see what I'm doing.
I'm sweating.
Thanks for hanging out this long and making it to the end of the video. I'm trying something new by adding some narrative to my videos. I've tried to talk into the GoPro while riding, but my sled is too loud with that turbo right in your face, and I don't have the right microphone set up for now. But let me know in the comments if you like the narrative better than just watching the riding footage without any context. As always, thanks for supporting the channel, and I'll be back with more content soon. We have had a couple pretty good storms. I got some good footage of riding these last couple weeks. Just need to get my butt down into a chair and get some editing done to get those videos out. But thanks again from your not so professional, mediocre, average outdoor Joe.